Welcome to the Solar Town Hall for Harman Solar. I'm Ralph Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harman Solar, and my partner over there, Ben Walschlager, Mr. Everything, as everyone knows from our podcasts. It's been a while since we've been on. We kind of took a break from content, had a lot of content out there. I know that we've had a lot of good comments and people that have come to us because of the content, so we're really thrilled about that. So we wanted to put a town hall together because we have a lot of questions that people are asking, a lot of questions. I think we have like 35 of them, so I'm not sure we can get all of them in there. And also, we wanted to see if we can stream live and get some people to join us and maybe ask some questions live. Maybe we'll actually figure out how to see those questions.
Maybe, yeah. This is uncut. This is
as raw as it gets.
Yeah, there's no room for error on this one.
Correct.
What if I have to go to the bathroom?
Then you go.
Okay. All right.
So maybe we should start. We also have Hannah, and she's off camera, but she's on mic, and she's going to be feeding us the questions that we have, and we're going to go from there. So
okay. Should we get started, or should we do like a Zoom meeting where they go, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes for everyone to join us?
No, I think we should
get started.
We should probably get started.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
We got, I guess, Julie Walschlager.
Oh, look at
testing that. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for being our only viewer.
Oh, geez. She was probably right at 2:00. Where are they? Where's my son?
Nice.
She did mimic you.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, good.
So why don't we just start? Let's just start answering questions that people gave us, and we'll go from there.
We have no script here today, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going off of whatever you guys give us.
Really scary.
Yeah, I know. So fire away. We'll see if we can answer them honestly or not honestly.
So Vanna, or should we call you Hannah or Vanna?
Why would you give me a show name?
Vanna White. Hannah White?
Yeah.
No. Just Hannah.
Okay. Hannah. Throw a question at us.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, just Ben, I did not word these, so I don't want to hear about it. Just
and your mom said you were late.
Well, that's not my fault.
All right, if my panels are installed but my system is not turned on, do I still have to pay the payment on my panels when they aren't producing anything, leaving me with no savings and 2 bills that are high?
Ralph, that's all you.
No, that's you.
No, that's you. That's you.
Repeat the question.
Oh boy. If my panels are installed but my system is not turned on, do I still have to pay the payment on my panels when they aren't producing anything, leaving me with no savings and 2 bills that are high?
So it depends. If you're paying cash, then obviously
I think that's
you pay nothing.
Geared towards.
If you're financing it, the most finance companies will wait. I think it's 45 days, and after install, about 45 days until you start receiving your first payment.
Mm-hmm.
So you typically shouldn't have those two hit together. It's rare. Not, has it ever happened before? Absolutely.
Yeah. It also depends on the finance company or leasing company that you go with, because they're all different. I know some of them have like a 6-month no payment period or a 12-month no payment period. We've offered different ones like that. So it's going to depend, which is pretty much a theme that we've had on all of our podcasts. Is everything's going to depend. So
right.
It depends. So yeah, there's going to be some cases where that might happen because of certain delays. You have to also keep in mind, not all the delays are going to be your installer's fault. There are times where your installer has everything on your roof. Now it's up to the jurisdiction or the utility company to come out and set the meter or do their job.
Right.
Where that has nothing to do with us or the install company. That's just the delays that are happening within the utility company. So yes, that's sometimes an unforeseeable future.
Okay.
Not always the case, though.
There you go. There's your answer. Hope that helped.
All right. 1 down, 34 to go.
All right. Next, if my system is underproducing and I do not notice for a month or 2, is there any way that I will receive a credit on my bill or my bill for my panels because my system was not working efficiently for those months? Am I stuck paying the high bills and paying for a service call?
You're stuck.
I guess that would be a me question because I do handle those.
You're stuck.
Yeah, you are kind of stuck. So with your solar system, you do get monitoring. And it's important to pay attention to that monitoring because that tells you what your system is doing. I always tell people it's kind of like a check engine light with your car. When your check engine light goes on with your car, does the dealership call you or do you call the dealership? You call the dealership. They don't call you. They don't know your check engine light came on. So when your check engine light on your solar system comes on, it's important to pay attention to that notification. Contact your solar company and say, hey, there's something wrong with my system. I need you guys to take a look at it right away. Yes, there's been cases where, people will say, hey, my system's been offline for, 4 or 5 months. I'm like, well, you should have. Well, why didn't you call us right away when it first came off? Well, I forgot and all this stuff. Same thing with your check engine light. If you're driving around with the check engine light on for 4 or 5 months, something's going to happen. But yeah, so it's important to pay attention to that monitoring aspect and then contact your solar company for, their maintenance on it. But yes, if it does go down and it's not producing, yeah, unfortunately you are, kind of stuck with that utility bill and that payment if you are making monthly payments on your system. Now, if you're doing a lease, again, depending on your leasing company, if the system does go down, they do give you a credit, because with a lease, you do have a production guarantee where it's supposed to guarantee a certain amount of kilowatt hours per year. And if it doesn't meet that production, then you get a credit on your account. But again, they usually take a look at that on a yearly basis to see how did it do, and then they credit your account based off your monthly payment. So, but if you finance it or purchase it, well, you own the system, so no one's crediting you that lost power. So that's why it's important to kind of keep an eye on your system.
Yep. Check.
Yeah, look at that. See, I'm good.
Good.
Good at this stuff.
Number 3, Hannah White.
Good answer. Okay. Next, my solar installer is no longer in business. Can anybody service my solar system? And are there deals for customers like me that got screwed by a company and are losing their free services for a year?
So this is a great timely question, because there have been a few solar companies in the last few months that have gone out of business.
I read about one yesterday, actually.
What was one you read about?
I don't know. I'm not say the name, but it was a Tucson company.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, but they
we don't need to say their names.
No, but yeah, Upland went out of business. So
But
all those installs.
There's a couple behemoths that went out of business. Nationally, the largest company in solar went out of business. And there's a lot of reasons to that. I mean, whatever those internal reasons were, plus the way the interest rates have been and other things. But they're solely dependent on solar, on residential solar, which Harmon's not. So we don't have the issue. But anyway, if that happens to you, the good thing is your parts are still warranted by the manufacturer.
Right.
So your panel still has a manufacturer warranty. Your inverter still has a manufacturer warranty. Unfortunately, what you do lose is you're going to lose any type of workmanship warranty, any type of roof penetration warranty that they were giving you, because they're no longer in business to honor it. So you are going to lose out on that stuff. But great news is Harman actually will come in and we can help service it at a cost. We are talking about putting together some kind of a plan for the amount of people that have recently had this happen to them, and maybe offer you the ability to get us some kind of extra protection that we would help you out with. We're working on it. Not there yet.
Like an extended warranty.
Right, like an extended warranty or something. But at the moment, you're basically those warranties are gone, and you would have to rely on somebody like Harman right now. If you give us a call, our service department has picked up a lot of business because of the few companies that have gone out of business. But we're here to help you. We'll definitely service your system. We'll do things for you. Obviously, right now it's going to come at a cost. But if a part goes bad and it's under manufacturer's warranty, we can help you run that manufacturer warranty ticket, the panel, the inverters, whatever they are. We can do that stuff. Where you really miss out is the workmanship warranty. Yeah. That's just gone. The penetration warranty for the roof, that's just gone. There's nothing that you can do about that, which is why we talk about all the time. There's companies out there that say, hey, we'll give you a 40-year warranty on this. Well, that... If you're only around, you've been company for 5 years and you're offering 30, 40-year warranty, you might want to rethink, maybe working with that company. We always say at Harman, we're the only company in Arizona that's been around longer than the warranties we provide. Yep. And there's a good reason for that. And you're getting a great example of that this last few months with the companies that have gone out of business. Yeah,
I always like to relate it to, once again, cars, because they're pretty, familiar with people. But when you buy, let's say, a Ford Explorer from a dealership, if that dealership goes out of business, that doesn't mean Ford went out of business and all those Ford parts in your car. You can contact other dealerships to service your Ford Explorer. Just because that dealership and whatever their warranties they had went out of business, you still have manufacturer warranties on what you bought. So you can still do those claims.
Good question, though. One that we've heard a lot lately.
Sure, yeah.
So,
all right, our next question. How often should I be cleaning my solar panels, if at all? Is there a product that cleans them the best, or do I just add water, and will cleaning them void a warranty?
The product that works the best is rain and wind.
I was going to say that.
You don't have to pay for it, which is great.
God's got you.
Yeah. I don't recommend cleaning them at all. There's probably some studies out there that show like, the cleaner the panels are going to produce more, things like that. But you always have to ask yourself, okay, but at what cost?
Right.
Companies are not going to come out there and clean your panels for free. So you're going to pay X amount to get your panels clean. Is that going to translate to X amount of savings on your next utility bill? I paid $100 to have my modules cleaned. And then it only saved me an extra $5 on my utility bill. I'm like, okay, well now you just lost $95. So it wasn't that great of a an investment. And the other thing that you have to realize too with cleaning them, we live in a very unpredictable weather system here in the Phoenix area. You can go out and clean your panels on Monday, Tuesday, dust storm.
Yeah.
Now what?
It's a waste of money.
Yeah, so
That's an absolute waste of money.
Waste of money. I no disrespect to those companies out there who are charging, clean it. That's sure great, but at the same time, like I'm totally against it because you don't need it.
I've had the panels in my house since 2017. I've never cleaned them once.
You don't go up there and spray it down with the hose?
Yeah, go down there with a toothbrush and
scrub
them. So you can clean them with. Some people shoot water on them. I wouldn't recommend that. Garden hose and ladder works just fine. That's what Cody said. Of course, Cody. Thank you, Cody, for that really bad advice.
Right. Why don't you want to use our garden hose on a modules? What's unique about our water here?
It's really hard for
yeah,
one.
we have hard water.
Yeah.
And so you get those calcium deposits on your panels, and now that's
not a good idea.
Not a good idea unless, if you're going up there with, RO water and your cleaner and all that stuff, you're just wasting time.
Let the rain do it.
Yeah, rain and wind. Yeah, you're fine.
So there we go.
Okay.
Next, Hannah White.
Next question.
I'm going to keep calling you Hannah White everyone.
With my solar company out of business, does my equipment still have a warranty?
Well, I just answered that.
Yeah, we kind of hit that.
Should I answer it again since people weren't there here? Because we're actually getting more people to view.
Are they chiming in with questions on there? Or is it
just Cody, who I'm about to block?
It's just my mom. It's Cody.
Yeah, I need to block him.
Right.
Again, so if your solar company went out of business, the manufacturer's warranty is still there and still good for whatever period of time it is. And a company like Harmon will still help you manage a warranty claim for that part that goes defective. So don't worry, you didn't lose that warranty. You didn't lose any of the part warranties. You're still good with. The manufacturers are still around. Hopefully, depending on who you did, right? Yeah. But most of them are still around. Where you're going to miss is you're going to lose your workmanship warranty. You're going to lose your roof penetration warranty. Those things that company was providing as their warranties, that's what's gone.
Right.
We can still help you, but now it comes at a cost.
Right. We'll still come out there and fix your roof or whatever issue that may have happened, but we can't honor their warranty if they went out of business.
Right.
But we can still contact the manufacturer if it's a manufacturer issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question is, why does Harmon not install on mobile homes?
Well, that's not 100% true.
Yeah. We sometimes do. It depends.
It depends on the mobile home. So a lot of the older mobile homes were built with 1x1 frames. They're not going to hold panels. They're going to crash into your bedroom or your living room or whatever. They're just not structurally sound enough to handle the weight of a panel. These panels are heavy.
Yeah, and 30 of them are
so
on a roof.
That's a lot of things on your roof, and the structure just can't handle it. So we will install it on newer mobile homes. I think we look at 94, 96 forward. They seem to have more of the 2x4 construction. So we can look at doing those types of mobile homes. Where it gets tricky is financing. If you're trying to finance a system on a mobile home, if it's not a permanent foundation and you don't own the land, no one will finance you.
Yeah.
So you have to own the land, and it has to be a permanent foundation. Because if you don't own the land and it's not permanent and you just drive it away, there goes the system.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So companies won't do that.
Yeah, and it's not just mobile homes. It's just the integrity of the structure. I mean, there's some non-mobile homes. There's some single-family homes that we've denied just because we take a look at the roof and the structure and go, this isn't structurally sound. We're not putting our name modules, on this roof because we don't want it to collapse later on. So sorry, we're not going to do this install. So it's not necessarily just mobile homes. It's just all homes in general. We're gonna look at doing the right thing for the customer without having the entire roof collapse because of us. So we don't want that.
Hannah White.
Which is better, a ground-mounted system or a roof-mounted system?
For what application?
Yeah, I mean that
residential.
Oh, okay.
That depends. I mean, so living in Phoenix, you don't see many ground mount systems unless you go out the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
Because people don't have that kind of land to be able to put a ground mount system because there are rules and regulations around not only the space they require, but the visibility by jurisdictions and by communities.
Yeah.
So you don't really see them a lot. If you don't have good roof space, a lot of people will try to do a ground mount if they have the land. It makes a lot of sense. You point it south, they're great.
Yeah.
for that person. If that person has no land and they have a roof that we can put panels on, then that's great for them. So again, that's a question that's unique to that person and their situation.
Yeah.
If you're Hannah and you live out near New Mexico and you have all that land, then it makes sense. You would put a ground mount up there. Why would you want to bother putting it on your house? I would just face it south and move on.
Yeah, I've talked to a few customers where they wanted a ground mount. I took a look at their neighborhood and property and all that. I'm like, where are we putting this ground mount? You have no room in your backyard,
Right.
and because of your energy needs, you need 40 modules. Where am I putting those 40 modules on a ground mount? There's no space, so we have to use your roof. The other thing you have to realize with ground mounts is instead of just putting it on the roof itself, we have to build a ground mount. So that's cost.
Right.
The mount itself has a fixed cost as well, so that's going to eat into your return on investment, your cost, overall cost, and then your savings as well. So a lot of cases, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do a ground mount unless there's, again, plenty of ample land, your usage is high, it depends on how you pay for it, things like that. So if their roof space is available, take advantage of that.
Not to mention ground mounts cost more money because we're dealing with all that stuff.
We're dealing with ground mounts. Yeah.
Yeah. All the extra steel.
Will Harman Solar install a ground-mounted system on a residential house?
We have in the past.
Yeah, I know of a couple.
Yeah, we have in the past. We stay away from it more than ever now because there's too many rules and regulations around the ground mounts in the different communities. Not to mention the cost is very prohibitive for the savings. It takes away from your savings because now you're talking about us using steel and different things, having to penetrate into the ground, having to do test samples of the land sometimes. Yeah. I mean, it gets very costly. So we really stay away from it.
The last one I can think of, it was like a 10,000 square foot home on 5 acres. I think the ground mount system alone was like $200,000. Again, this is not a typical situation. So it's going to be very unique. And that's, not saying we won't do it. It's just
we don't want to.
We don't want to because let's take a look at your situation. And most people, it doesn't really make a whole lot of financial sense because your idea of going solar is to save money.
Yep.
Okay, this question we kind of already touched on, but I'm going to read the whole thing anyways. It says,
Perfect.
Hello, I recently moved to Arizona from Alaska and am also new to solar. We purchased a home with solar that was paid for, but we just found out that our company recently closed and went bankrupt in June. There was no notice. We only found out when we saw our electricity bill for this month, and it was almost double the last month's bill. My question is, how easy or difficult is it to find another solar company to work with? And is it possible to have your own power bank, or do you have to plug into the grid? I only ask because the people who use solar in Alaska have their own power banks. I am in Maricopa area.
I don't understand why their bill went up because the company went out of business.
Yeah,
that shouldn't have
two
any
separate entities.
Yeah, there's no correlation there.
Yeah,
because whether they're in business or not, your system is working. There shouldn't be an issue. It sounds like your system may have an issue.
Yeah. Your panels don't know that your company went out of business. So.
It's funny. I'm new to solar. I wanted to say you're new to the sun is what you wanted to say.
Yeah, welcome to Alaska to Arizona. Quite the dynamic. But touching on my bill went up. There's other aspects to how your bill went up, and I always tell people there's 2 reasons and only 2 reasons why your utility bill would be higher than expected. 1, equipment not working. So that's what we take a look at first. Is your equipment working the way it should? And 2, your usage has changed. So if it's got to be one of those 2 reasons. So if equipment's working and it's not number 1, then it's got to be the second option with maybe your usage has changed. So it's important to look at all aspects and not just automatically assume like, oh, my bill went up, so therefore it's my equipment. Like, no, not the case all the time.
If I were you, if you bought it or financed it, it's not a lease. If it's a lease, contact a lease company because you still have it's still their system.
Yeah.
So if you purchased or financed it, contact a company like Harmon to take a look at it. We'll go out there and take a look at it and see what's going on because something's wrong.
Sure.
So most likely you have an issue.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a inverter went down. Maybe some panel strings went down. Something happened. If all of a sudden your bill doubled in a month, it could be what Ben said. It could be usage. I mean, that'd be some serious increase in usage, but it happens.
You never know. Yeah.
So, as we hit summer, that's very possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially in summer.
But I would have somebody take a look at the system first. That would be what we would do first, like Ben said.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we can answer this because we're not a law firm, but how do you get
We'll
out of
do our best.
I play a law firm.
How do you get out of a solar contract once you're in it? The solar has been installed for 2 years, and I don't think it has worked at all since it's been installed. The installer has since gone out of business. How could I get out of the contract?
So when people say, I don't think my solar is working, and we do get some of those calls, from companies or from customers say, hey, my company went out of business. Can you guys take a look? I don't think my solar is working. So then what we do is we go, okay, what is your system supposed to produce? It's supposed to produce X amount. Okay, well, what did your system actually produce? It produced X amount. Like, okay, well, if it was supposed to produce 10,000 kilowatt hours and it produced 11,000 kilowatt hours, well, not only is it working, it's working better than expected.
Yeah.
So your system is working. How your utility bill is, that's a completely separate issue. Now, if your system is supposed to produce 10,000 kilowatt hours, but it's only producing 2,000 kilowatt hours, okay, well, now you have an issue where your system isn't working. So it's important to take a look at that. Just because you might be unhappy with your utility bills doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, solar's messed up, something's wrong. Like, no, we let's figure it out the logical way. But as far as getting out of your contract, well, that's all you.
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a contract,
especially with them out of business. So I would assume that you financed it. So if you financed it, I mean, you could go to the finance company and request something, but the problem is they have no leverage because they can't go after the solar company that maybe misled you about something.
Sure.
You're in a legal contract. Chances of you getting out of that are slim, very slim.
Unless someone did something illegal. If you said, hey, I signed a contract for 50 modules and this company only installed 5. Like, okay, well, there's a huge discrepancy there. But if you're saying I signed a legal contract to get 50 modules, they installed 50 modules, the contract said it's supposed to produce X amount, and it is producing X amount, well, then everything has been taken care of.
Right.
What you may have been promised by the salesperson, that's a separate issue.
Yeah, and if they're out of business, there's nothing to go after. So that's the problem with some of these fly-by-night companies. They come into Arizona because it's such a great place for solar.
Sure.
They sell you a bag of goods, and then they bail.
Yeah.
And they don't care about you. They just want the commission. So you got to do the research on who you're buying solar from.
Yep.
You can't buy it from these guys that have been around for a year or two, because chances are they're not going to be around in a year or two.
But he looked good. And he sounded cool.
Sounded good. He had this big, pretty website, and it had colors on it and stuff.
And he made me sign it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Hannah White?
Is that okay?
She was laughing.
Don't laugh.
My joke of the day.
What kind of discounts do you offer, if any?
Discounts?
Yes.
We don't get no discounts.
Military,
what are you talking about?
teachers, senior citizens.
So everybody's really big on that. First of all, let me tell you something about discounts.
Let me tell you something.
They're not discounts.
Yeah.
You're paying for it.
Exactly.
Everyone that says they're giving you something free or they're giving it discounted, I'll be the first one to tell you, I've been in sales for a long time, it's in this, you're paying for it. It's in the price. So what we do is don't offer those things. We give you the best possible price up front, period. So whether you're military, whether you're senior citizen, whatever it is, the category that you fit, that you hear discount on, we're giving everybody that discount up front because we're just going to give you the best possible price and treat you the right way and be around for years when you need us.
But I have 25% off at Kohl's. No, they're just
sure you do.
They're just charging you 25% more normally.
Right.
Now you're just paying the different price for it. Here's my thoughts on discounts too. I'm all about giving people the best price possible. Simply because that's how I would want to be treated as a customer. This goes back to my previous days before sales. I had someone come to my door, knocking, trying to sell me a $5,000 vacuum. Like that.
That was a good sound effect.
Yeah, we don't have actual sound effects here. We kind of make them here in the studio.
Go ahead.
But anyway, so I had someone come to my door selling me like a $5,000 vacuum. Great vacuum, sure. It worked as it said and all that stuff. And he was like, okay, the price for this vacuum is $5,000. I was like, geez, $5,000? Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna do it. And he goes, hold on a second, I can do it for $3,500. And I was like, wait a minute. If I would have said yes to $5,000 and now finding out later that I could have paid $3,500 for the exact same vacuum, like that to me is unethical. If my neighbor bought the same exact vacuum, I paid $5,000 and he paid $3,500 for it. Like, wait, we both got the same vacuum, but you got a better price on it. That's just gonna make me upset as a customer. So I always tell people, this is my lowest and best price. And I do have customers come like, oh, can you do it for this price? And I'm like, no. The only way I can get a lower price is if I talk to our owner and say, hey, does the company want to make less money off of this? Because I gave you my best price I could. So I don't do a whole lot of haggling or anything like that. Like the price is the price, and that's that's what we offer. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on discounts.
I'm with you.
All right. How many batteries would I need to power my house, air conditioner included?
36.
That's a very open-ended question. It could be 1, it could be none, it could be 10.
Would it ever be 1 to power an air conditioner
No.
in a power outage?
Not
No.
in Phoenix.
No, not here.
Yeah, maybe in Flagstaff.
We recommend that a minimum that you get 2 batteries. That's always the minimum that we recommend. If you want one, we'll sell you one, but we're going to be honest about what it's going to really cover. That'd be more to cover some outlets and stuff, like keep your fridges going, have a computer that you can log into, your internet, all stuff. But if you want really, you do 2. 2 can cycle your AC for a little bit, give you the other things that you need. And then 3 is typically optimal if you really want to get into it. But with 1 battery,
Yeah, you got to think about it too. We are right now towards the end of summer, so we're in the dog days of summer, as they say. So when you're talking about my battery, what's the air temperature outside? It's 115 degrees in the hottest part of the day, and then at night it still gets 100 degrees.
Right.
You're running your AC pretty much 24/7 to keep your home somewhat cool in the summertime. So if you're relying on just your battery at nighttime when there is no solar production, that battery is going to be drained real quick. 1, 2 batteries might not even do it. 3 batteries might not do it. It all depends on how much power you're drawing, how many AC units, how big your home, what temperature you want to set your thermostat to, things like that. So it's very, open-ended question. It's going to vary, but even then, it's not going to cover all of your demand during that time.
Nope.
So don't rely solely on the battery. Good question.
Hannah White.
Does Harmon offer 24/7 service or service after hours?
Ralph's number is, hold on, let me pull it up here. Yeah. It's 602.
No, we do not. We're not 24/7. If something happens and you call in, and I think we used to have an emergency line. I'd have to ask the service department if we still have that. I don't think we do. It's just something we did for a period of time, but right now, no. I think what we would do after hours is if you left us a message, we'd get with you next morning.
Yeah.
And try to help you. So unfortunately, no.
Yeah. Usually with solar, if there's something goes wrong, it just kind of kicks off. So I don't know any type of real emergencies that could happen in the middle of the night or
it's hot outside and I don't know.
I want my solar system's not working on Sunday night. Like, well, it's nighttime.
Wait, we have those night panels now.
the moon panels.
You don't remember those? We bought them.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Sorry.
The moon.
Okay. What services are done in-house at Harmon, and which ones do you contract out for?
We do laundry service, pool service, home cleaning, cooking, all sponsored by Ralph.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So in-house, almost everything, I would say. We really do everything. We do the audit process in-house for the most part. We do the design in-house for the most part.
The sales?
We do the sales in-house. We do the engineering
in-house.
We have
the marketing for the most part.
The marketing for the most part, when someone decides to do something, is in-house.
Yeah, marketing for the least part.
When we do ground mount, probably the only thing we don't do in-house that I can think of. So there's 2 things. So steel, when on commercial projects, we contract the steel out. Not that because we have to. That's just what we do. We could do it if we wanted to, and I think we have done it sometimes. But for the most part, we'll contract it out. As far as roofing, we do have a roofing division, and we can do a lot of the roofing ourselves. If it's a big roofing job and we're just got a lot of stuff going on, we might contract it out to do some roof work. But we have a couple of vendors that we utilize that we've been with for years. But typically we're doing mostly everything in-house. Same with like design. Sometimes we'll contract that out. If we're really busy, we want to keep things moving. We might ask for some overflow service, things like that. So
that doesn't mean that we don't cross-check things.
Yeah, no, we still have. We have a full engineering team in-house, full design team in-house. We're a one-stop shop in-house. We have everything we need. All our service work is done in-house. We don't contract that out.
Yeah. Drive by our office. It's a big office. We have a warehouse.
Really
we have
big.
We have our own solar system in the back there. Yeah. Like we look like a one-stop shop because for the most part we are a one-stop shop. Whereas the other companies, it's running out of their mom's basement or something.
Yeah, not us.
Not us.
We need T-shirts that say we're a solar company for the most part.
For the
See what I mean about our marketing team?
And this is why we don't allow her on camera.
Next question. If I just need my system looked at, do I have to pay a fee, or is there a free estimate and then I pay if I decide to have the labor done?
I'll go on Google Maps right now and look at it.
Yeah, I'll go look at it.
There it is.
There it's there. Thanks.
$10.
So if you want someone to come out and look at it because there's an issue, maybe.
Yes.
Yes, we'd have to charge you for rolling a truck. Obviously, there's time and money that goes into sending a technician out to a home.
Let's back up a little bit. It depends. It depends. So if there is an issue, we have all these capabilities to look at it remotely.
We do.
We can take a look and go, okay.
If it's our system.
If it's our system, we take a look at your monitoring and go, okay, there is no issue. We have green lights across the board. Everything looks like it's producing. You still want us to come out? Because if we do, then we're obviously going to have to charge you because everything looks good on our end. But if we take a look and go, oh, you are right, something is wrong, well, then it's going to be covered under warranty, things like that. So in that case, you might not get charged. So it's going to depend. But yeah, we'll take a look at it remotely, at no cost. But then when we come, the decision of us coming out there or not is going to depend on if there is something actually wrong.
$1 million.
Yeah, that's part. It's in the contract. Yeah. Fine print.
Are pigeons known to eat wires under the panels or cause damages other than debris?
Only if they're hungry.
Yeah, I don't know the pigeon diet. Isn't those just like seeds and insects?
So if you have a pigeon neighborhood that you live in and you put solar up, there are pigeon neighborhoods.
Pigeon neighborhood.
If you put the house in the middle of a pigeon neighborhood,
do they have like their own HOA? Like
they do. Pigeons are us.
Little playground, little community.
If your neighborhood does have pigeon issues, I'll say it that way. Like my neighborhood has pigeon issues.
Yeah.
You have to put bird blocking up. If you don't, there is a really good chance that they're going to chew on some wires.
Sure.
Like little rats.
They like nesting.
They like to nest and they like to chew, it seems like. And we have seen that where you go out and there's the cables that are messed up. And so, yeah, it's very real. And you find the pigeons just like this. This is dead.
What's that smell?
Yeah, that's roasted pigeon.
Dinner's ready.
Yeah. So, yeah, you definitely can have pigeon issues, and them doing that, they can destroy your system here and there. So if you're living in that kind of neighborhood, put bird blocking up. It's worth every penny.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes people just do it after the fact too, because they don't know, like, hey, I may or may not have a pigeon issue. So it doesn't necessarily have to be done at the time of install. It could be after. It could be after, but just sometimes it's safer to know, oh, I do have a pigeon issue because of all my neighbors are complaining the same thing. So we'll do it beforehand. But if you're one of the types of persons that wants to do it after, we can do it after.
Just remember.
Can we get a picture of that?
Yes.
On our website?
Dead pigeon.
Dead
raw pigeon.
Don't move into a pigeon's neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not very nice.
That's
they're very
pretty
clicky
much
too.
what I got out of
It's
that.
extremely clicky.
Tiny houses.
Yeah.
Why can a solar company not install solar off-grid? Why does it have to be grid tied?
I mean,
why can they not? There's so many negatives in that one. Why can they not?
Yeah, Hannah White, that's very negative.
So
if why
someone
can't
calls
they?
us up and they're like, "Hey, I want off-grid solar. I do not want it tied to the grid.
Are
why
you
can
living?
We not
So
install
is the grid
it?
established?
My first question is, where you live, is the grid there?
Yeah.
If it is, you need to be attached to the grid.
Yeah, looking like this neighborhood behind me, like that's a grid established neighborhood.
Yes.
So
it is.
Yeah, there's already houses. If it's like where Hannah lives, then probably not.
Just to clarify, I have a home.
She drinks from
Well,
water or something.
you call it a home.
Yeah.
And it's not a pigeon's neighborhood.
It sure does look like it.
It's an emu neighborhood.
If you live in an area where there is the grid, you cannot disconnect from the grid.
Right.
If you don't believe us, call APS if that's your utility and ask them what they require for you to move off grid.
Say, I would like to be disconnected from your grid. They'll laugh and hang up.
$70,000 later,
Yeah.
because that's about what it would take to get approved by them. It's not worth your time. If you live in an area where there's no grid and you want solar, then that could be done, and you use batteries and all that stuff. Is that something that we do? Not really. We don't typically want to do that. We stay in the areas where the grid is, and we work with grid-tied system.
Right.
There are companies that do, that's their thing. They like to do off-grid systems, and I would suggest searching out those companies and looking at doing it with them. Could we do it? Of course we could. It's just not our business model. It's not where we want to be.
Yeah.
We're focused in other areas, more grid-tied.
The grid is not a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good
it's
thing.
not.
It's a good thing for, like, okay, I have a solar system, I have batteries, and I'm connected to the grid. Okay, that grid is kind of like your backup just in case, it's nighttime and your battery's completely drained and I still need power. So those off-grid applications, way out in the middle of nowhere, it's the middle of summer and solar system's working, okay, but it's night, and then solar system's not working anymore. My battery's completely dried, and my home is now heating up to 100 degrees because I don't have any power to my AC. Where's my power going to come from? Hopefully, you got a backup generator, maybe.
Usually come from a generator.
Yeah, usually that grid is your backup. Like, hey, I need that extra power. It's going to be pulling from the grid. So that's what the grid is kind of important still.
Yep.
Okay, there's a follow-up question
of course
that kind of fits with that. Could I have a company install my solar, and then can I make it off-grid?
Legally?
We did actually have an engineer that we installed solar on attempt to do this. So now...
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, legally? Or
if it's tied to the grid and you try to remove it from the grid, you're probably going to have an issue with APS or SRP or whoever it is your utility is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can legally do that.
You can call them and ask, see what it takes, but
again, you can call them and ask, and they'll give you the requirements because it's their area, the grid's there, and you've got to tie into it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be on the grid, go get a house in Munns Park somewhere, or I don't know, where there's just a bunch of land and there's nothing there, and you can do that. But when there's a grid there, you're kind of stuck.
Okay. Next question. My neighbor had solar installed in SRP and their air conditioner stopped working. It had something to do with their demand. Why would that happen?
Next question. Pass.
I'm going to let you take this.
So the demand management system is there to protect you. We have a whole podcast. We have 2 podcasts on SRP and demand and all that stuff. It's there to protect your bills from getting too high. I always tell people it's kind of like a governor on your car. Your car speedometer could read 200 miles an hour. Does that mean if you're going down the freeway and you floor it, that speedometer is going to go there? No, it's going to eventually get to a certain point.
What?
Governor, I know, crazy.
What?
Governor's going to go, hey, you're going too fast, so we're going to stop you right here.
The governor's going to come tell me that?
The governor's going to come knock on your door.
Wow.
You are driving too fast down the freeway, sir. He's in the back seat of your car.
That's why I didn't vote for her.
So the demand manager is like a governor for your house. So when you start stacking high demand items like you're cooking dinner and your pool's running and your AC kicks on, you do all these things at once, it's going to spike your demand. So your demand manager and your smart thermostat are going to start communicating and go, hey, wait a minute, Ralph, you're stacking all your demand and your demand's starting to spike. We need to cut back something. So it's going to start cutting back on your, high demand items like your AC unit or, your dryer or whatever's running, whatever's connected to that demand management system is going to start cycling those to keep your demand under that threshold. And you want it to be under that threshold because, again, that's what keeps your bill low. So when people say like, oh, yeah, my AC went off during this time, I usually say, well, yeah, you're welcome because that's what kept your bill low this month. You can always adjust your demand management system. And I always tell people it's a kind of a learning curve and we kind of have to find that sweet spot for you to where your bills are low and you're comfortable, but we don't know what that is for you. We don't know your comfort levels on your home. Some people like the home at 76. Some people are okay with it being at 82. We don't know what your comfort levels are in your home. So when you have that demand management system and that smart thermostat, we got to find what's a good demand threshold for you. We can set it at. Is it a 4 kilowatt or a 6 or a 10 or a 12? I don't know. We got to figure out what that is for you in your situation so that you're happy with your low bill and you're comfortable in your home. So when the AC does kick off, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing because it keeps that demand from spiking too high.
Right.
And then we always tell people to stagger your stuff. If you are cooking dinner, don't be doing laundry and running your pool and your AC, do all that stuff at once. Run your pool at night when it's non-peak times, or do your laundry on the weekends when it's non-peak times. If you are going to be cooking dinner, just be prepared that, your AC might cut off for like 4 or 5 minutes here and there just because, you're running a lot of high demand items. But that's okay. That doesn't mean your house is going to heat up or anything like that. It's doing its job. It's doing what it should be doing. So don't panic. You're welcome.
Wow.
So that being the case, if your air conditioner goes out late at night and we don't offer after hours, is there a way for you to adjust your own demand manager?
Sure.
There is.
Yep.
You'll have software that you can log into and adjust it.
Yeah.
So we could also teach you how to do it manually as well.
There's an app, there's a website where you can kind of adjust it. If your AC is kicking off at night, I'm probably asking yourself, what's your demand set at, first of all, and what other items are you running late at night? And secondly, nighttime is off-peak time, so your AC being controlled via the smart thermostat and demand manager is not a thing unless
Should never happen at night.
someone did something wrong as far as programming, because the demand manager and your smart thermostat are already pre-programmed to SRPs on peak times.
Yep.
So like between 2 and 8 o'clock. So anything that happens after 8 o'clock, that shouldn't have anything to do with
shouldn't happen.
us or the solar system or demand management. That's something that's going on internally. Did I answer your question?
I mean, I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find
They
out.
might have a rebuttal. Is a generator a better fit if I want to power my entire house in an outage, or are batteries worth it?
So it depends.
Everything depends.
It just, again,
For the most part.
Harman Solar. Everything depends.
that's our new motto. A generator can be a good option.
Sure.
It's not a bad option. It's a big option in the Midwest. They use them a lot tied to solar. When we were doing stuff in Oklahoma, we sold a lot of generators versus batteries because they're cheaper. And you can have if you have propane running there and all that. For instance, Generac has propane run generators. If you have a propane system in your home, you can just feed that to your generator and it kicks in just like a battery would. And a lot of people like that option. It's a good option. Some people like the battery option. It just depends. The battery option is a great option too. The prices have come down. They've gotten a lot cheaper. You can get into a Powerwall 3 like for about $9,500 right now, $10,000, that ish area, which you couldn't do before. It was more like $16,000, $17,000, $18,000. So they've come down a lot.
Yeah.
The nice thing about a battery is you can do a lot more things as far as you can start doing peak shaving. You can set when you want it to load, when you want it to dump, all these different things. Generators, not so much that. They're more for emergency backup. So I guess it depends really. Are you looking for emergency backup? Are you looking to work with your solar and try to save money on peak time? It just depends. If you're looking to really manage with your solar system, I would stick with a battery. If you're just looking to have that backup so when the grid goes down because you have a grid problem and you want something to come back up, then I would look at generators.
How much does a generator run you?
It just depends.
I know that.
It depends on
Everyone
size.
does.
I mean,
Depends, Ben.
I've seen anywhere from 5,000 to 12, 13,000, depending.
Okay, let's say middle of the road 8,000 then.
Sure.
So then you got to ask yourself, am I living in an area where I do have grid problems? So, Ralph, you and I live in a pretty residential area. We're not on the outskirts.
I would call this residential, yes.
Yeah, it's not very outskirty.
It's not very industrial.
Yeah, exactly. When was the last power outage you had here at the house? Maybe not the exact
It's been a couple years.
And how long did that outage last?
Maybe an hour.
Okay.
I don't even think it was that long.
I had one, I think, about 2 weeks ago, about 15 seconds. So you got to look. Yeah,
I don't count those.
I know. Well, it's like power went out at the house. It was like 15 seconds.
Because you didn't pay your bill.
That's probably it, actually.
That's what I thought.
So you got to ask yourself, I'm going to pay $8,000 for a generator for a 15-second insurance policy.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? No,
not at all.
But on those areas where, we're kind of outside and the grid isn't isn't stable, and the grid might be down for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Okay,
Yes.
now I'm paying $8,000 for 4 hours in policy. Sure.
Do it.
And these are the questions that I ask people, do you have problems with the grid going down in your area? Because I'm sure a lot of companies would love to just sell you batteries and generators because they want to make a commission. They want to make money off you. But I'd rather you be happy. I know, crazy, right?
Gosh.
I'd rather you not call me a year later and say, Ben, this was a horrible idea. So we ask these questions so that you can, have informed, conversations with your sales rep.
Right. Good answer.
They're always good.
No, not always.
Yeah, that's true.
For the most part.
That voice has got an attitude.
It depends.
Is financing solar a scam like everyone says it is? And if you say no, why not?
I would like to know who these everyone's are.
So, again,
Scam.
I don't know you have to define what a scam is, but I can tell you what financing is. Financing solar has fees attached to it.
Yeah.
Just like financing anything
Sure.
has fees attached to it. Where solar's different is some of those fees are pretty big.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing long years, low interest rates, the fee's probably pretty enormous.
Yeah.
When you see long to mid years, more reasonable interest rates, like right now, I'd say 8.49ish, that area, they typically don't even have fees on those loans.
Yeah.
They're actually really great loans to use. So you gotta kind of look at the scenario you're being pitched. We live in an 8 to 9% interest rate world right now. That's just where solar lives.
Yeah. That has
If
nothing
someone's
to do
offering you 3.99, 2.99, 1.99, there's probably a pretty significant fee attached to it.
Right.
Ask the question.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a scam. It's not a scam. It's just a high fee loan, which depending on your scenario could still work out just fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's a horrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when you do decide to, if you say yes, you're rep, and you want to sign the documents on the finance company, you get the loan documents.
You get the trust.
It shows you what your monthly payment is. It shows you what the interest rate is. Shows you what your finance charge is, your total loan amount. It shows you all that. So that if it were a scam, I don't know, is the sales rep editing the PDF and changing things? So it's all written there, kind of black and white for you. This is what I'm paying. Here's my terms of the contract. And if you're just going through and just blindly signing it, and you're not knowing what you're signing, then
here's where it gets tricky.
They didn't really scam you.
Right.
You just
so here's where you might be using that word. Here's where it gets tricky. Okay. First off, the idea with solar is if we combine what you're paying for your loan and your bill, is it less than you're paying now? Right. If it is, there's savings.
There you go.
And those savings will increase year after year because the utility increases year after year, but your loan should stay stable.
Right.
Okay. So there you start seeing gains over a period of time.
Right.
Here's the tricky part. The tricky part is if you give a solar loan, there is a tax credit portion of it. So let's say your tax credit is $20,000. You have 18 months to pay that $20,000 back into your loan.
Right.
If you don't do that, your loan reamortizes and your payment will go up $80, $90 a month. So you have to understand that process when you're looking at a loan. There are loans out there right now, like I was talking about before, where they're like, for instance, there's an 849 loan with no dealer fees. And they start off as if you're not going to pay back that tax credit.
Yeah.
That is a great loan because you start off payment one at the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
And you can look at that into your finances and see if it makes sense. And if you decide to pay into that loan 10% increments, you can bring your payment down.
Yeah.
It's up to you. But you control it. You don't have the surprise balloon at month 18 or 19.
Yeah, because wouldn't you want to be okay with the worst case scenario and then realize, 18 months from now, you're like, oh, wait, my loan payment just went down? Or would you rather, be paying your loan payment and then 18 months down the road go, wait, my loan payment just went up? What the heck?
Right.
I'd rather have start off worst case scenario and then my payments just get smaller after that.
And I think that's where you're getting the scam word from, because a lot of dishonest salespeople talk to you like the first payment is what it's always going to be, and that's just not a reality, and they are scamming you in a
smaller
sense.
Payment. Yeah.
But if you do your due diligence and actually read the paperwork, the trust and lending agreement, you will see that the truth in lending, you'll see that it does increase at month 18 or 19 typically.
Yeah.
So just know the kind of loan you're getting. That's the key. You have to educate yourself on the loans. That's all. So there are really good loan opportunities out there right now. You just have to make sure you're getting the right one.
Good question.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Debatable.
Okay. How long do panels really last? If it takes me 20 years to pay off my system, is my equipment even going to work by then?
Well, I mean, panels have been around since the 70s.
Yeah.
So at almost very close to the efficiencies that we see today. And they're still working. So do the math. That's 50-something years we've had panels that work. So they're tested by the manufacturers. They do stress testing that will show 40-year lifespan of what the panel would go through. And they give you an idea of how they're going to produce in that 40-year period. That's pretty common in the industry. So, no, it's not. These things will last. The things that's not going to last is your inverter. The inverter is going to go bad. If it's a string inverter, it's typically going to go bad year 12 or 13, right around there.
Repeat that. Your inverter is going to go bad.
It will go bad no
Keep
matter
that in
what.
mind, yes.
It will go bad.
It will go bad.
So
keep that in mind.
your inverter is going to go within 12 to 15 years.
Yep.
That's just the way it works. And if you have microinverters, they're going to go too.
Sure.
Within the period of time. Now they're warranted 25 years. So hopefully 25-year warranty on a microinverter, yeah, you're doing pretty good. The Tesla inverters are really good inverters. I love those inverters. They're string inverters. They're liquid cooled, which is great for our environment here.
Yep.
And I believe they have a 12.5-year warranty on them. They're going to go bad.
Yeah.
And then you're going to replace them. So you just have to understand that. They're not expensive, but you're going to replace them.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if your system is working, your panels and your inverters are working, they're starting to save you money day one. So if you've had your system on your roof for 22 years, think of all the savings that you've had for the past 22 years.
Yeah.
You're doing fine.
Yeah.
If it decides to go bad at, your warranty's 25 years and it decides to go bad at year 26, 27, guess what? You did pretty good for yourself.
Absolutely.
25 years of savings. What I saved 50 grand on a $15,000 system.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say you did good.
You did good. That was the goal. Good job.
So that's
I've talked with a customer. I remember she had her panels installed. It's like early 2000, maybe like 2001, 2002, and they were still.
That's way back in the day.
They were still on the roof, still producing. So she wanted to add more panels to her system because usage changed, but her current system was just fine. So
the only thing that's really changing with panels, slightly efficiency, not a big deal, but it's more the wattage size of the panels.
Yeah.
When I got my panels back in, I want to say it was a 17. I have 260 watt panels up there. Nowadays, we're selling a 445 watt panel. So that, that's the big difference is the amount of wattage they can put in a size of a panel. I mean, that's really the big difference. If the farther back you go, you just see lower wattage panels.
Sure.
But they all produce. Yeah. They don't go bad typically. Unless somebody throws a golf ball in one and starts cracking them, or I don't know. I don't think a pigeon's going to break a panel. That'd be pretty interesting to watch.
Do the pigeon thing again. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, the dead pigeon.
There it is.
So, yeah, panels are going to last.
Yeah.
They can have issues once in a while. It happens.
That's what we got warranties
and they
for.
replace them. They're not that expensive.
That kind of goes into the next question, which is, do you or Ben have solar on your house? Has it been beneficial, and how many times have you had to have it serviced?
So I have solar on my home. Had it since 2017, so we're 7 years in. When I first moved in here, this is an all-electrical house. It's electric house. It's a 2-story house. It's about 2,200 square feet. Electric everything. Our first summer bill that we hit was like $750. And I was like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I went and got solar. My worst summer bill nowadays, is probably about $225 is my worst summer bill. So yeah, and my winter bills are nothing.
Yeah.
$30, $40, $50.
Did you purchase your system?
I leased it.
Yep.
I actually leased it through Sunrun. I have a fixed lease at 8 cents a kilowatt hour. My lease payment is $100 a month.
There you go.
And that's for 20 years. That's a pretty good deal.
That's a pretty good deal.
So
Must have had a good sales rep.
Myself. So it was very beneficial. I've saved a ton of money in the first 7 years. If I didn't have it, I would be in trouble.
Yeah.
So no, it's absolutely I have it, and it's very beneficial.
And I do not have solar because I rent my house. I don't own the
You
home.
can't have solar if you rent.
You can't have solar if you can, but if you don't own the home, then you can't. You can't make that decision for the home. So
sure you
as a renter, you would have to get the landlord's permission to get solar. So
look, buddy,
you're
getting this.
You're getting it.
This is not a conversation. I got a number. I got a guy.
It's
he
not
installs
Harmon.
solar.
Harmon will not do that.
Harmon doesn't come over and go, hey, pistol whip you. Well, we might have had
we
somebody.
will do that.
Yeah, we had one guy.
It's in the contract.
We did have one guy. He's gone.
Okay. Solar panels in parking lots make so much sense. Why don't we mandate this in Arizona? We have so much sun. We could have free power.
I wish we would mandate it.
Yeah, because we
would love to mandate it because we do a ton of parking structures.
That's what I do.
Yeah, dun dun dun.
As a commercial
it's
PM.
Parking Ben.
Parking Ben.
Yeah, so we do a lot of our commercial work is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's covered parking structures. Makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
People always say, well, look at all those parking structures there that don't have solar. Can we just take the roof off and put solar on it? No, because they're not engineered to hold solar panels. And if they put panels on there, they go,
exactly.
Yeah, on your house or on your car. So it is a good idea. We've actually done a lot of pitches on the commercial side where we would scrap what they have there now, put the right stuff on there. So beneficial, save a ton of money.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of the owner of the businesses, and a lot of them. We do a lot of commercial, so we have been doing it. Mandating it, we don't live in communist Russia, so I just don't think that we can force people to do things.
It's not our decision. Yeah,
maybe if certain things happen in November, we will. I don't know, but anyway, it's not. I would love to see that as a mandate. I think it'd be smart in this, especially in Phoenix with all the sun we have. It just makes total sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape to go along with it. On the commercial side. So yeah, we do a lot of commercial parking lot structures, and I'm sure we would love to have more, but it all depends on the jurisdiction and who's the general contractor and the owner, like who's paying for it. Sometimes we do a lot of utility provided commercial systems as well. But then also there's just individual owners who want to purchase it outright themselves. Right. So it depends.
Yeah, everything depends.
Everything depends.
Ben, this question I'm going to say is for you because you're going to love it.
I don't appreciate that.
I'm 6'2" and 220 pounds.
And it's got a shiny
The question
head.
is, what is the average cost for solar panels on a 1,900 square foot house in Arizona?
Let me get my calculator. So a 1,900 square foot house in Arizona. Okay. Here's my follow-up question for you. And this is what every sales rep should be doing. They should not be just spitting out a number to you. Because a 1,900 square foot house and their neighbor's 1,900 square foot house could have two very different usage histories. That 1,900 square foot house could be a 2-story, could be a 1-story, could have a pool, no pool, hot tub, electric cars, could have 5 people living in there and they're all home because they all work from home and they're teenagers, or they could have just one person who's there, maybe they're a snowbird. So that 1,900 square foot home, they could be using 16,000 kilowatt hours. Or they could be using 50,000 kilowatt hours. And solar is going to be tailored to how much you're using. So if you are using more, then you're going to want a system that's going to produce that much.
What?
I know. And then here's
insane.
I know, but here's the other aspect too. What a lot of people don't realize. 2-story homes have a smaller roof than a 1-story home. I know, because you're building up, the roof is smaller, whereas a 1-story, it's
it's almost always true.
I know, almost always.
Almost always.
So usually on a 2-story home, your usage is higher because hot air rises. You're going to be using more power. I'm going to get into the science of it, but your roof is smaller, so you can't really get. In some cases, I'm not going to say all or a lot. In some cases, you can't really offset all that power. So again, it's going to depend. But I guess if we're just going with a 1,900 square foot home, let's say no pool, no hot tub. Maybe they have an electric car. I'll go there. And 3 people living in the home. Their usage history could probably be, I would say, just for the sake of numbers, let's do, 20,000 kilowatt hours, which is kind of a lot for that size home. But who knows what they set their thermostat at? And who knows how old the home is and all that stuff. So there might, if it's a south-facing roof, they might need a 11 kilowatt system. And then if it's me selling it, or if it's Ralph selling it, or if it's Dennis selling it, no, I'm just kidding. It could be a, I don't know, just it depends on if you're financing it too. It could be a close to, I would say, $20,000 system if you're paying cash. There's your number. But again, I would never give that quote out to somebody without getting all the information. So if you're
for a 10K.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out numbers.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think he knows what he's talking about.
No, for a 10K, 20. I just said 20,000 kilowatt hour or $20,000.
That's cheap.
Well, that's Ben Walschlager for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Call up Ben if you want to only pay that.
But
much.
no, but again, so if you're sitting there and go, oh, okay, I have a 1,900 square foot home, I'm gonna get a solar system for $20,000. No, you're going to ask all those follow up questions to figure out what's good for you and your situation as far as your family, because you don't want to get that $20,000 system and then realize, a year later, wow, I overpaid for something, or I got too many panels. I don't need this much, or I got not enough panels because now I'm not seeing a great savings on my utility bill. So you can't really do that. Is the correct answer.
I concur.
There you go.
That was a long, you can't really do that answer.
Well, I had to explain myself.
What incentives can save you money with solar, whether it's like the federal solar tax credit, or the local and state incentives? What are they?
So there
I
is
rambled. Your turn.
There's a 30% federal tax credit if you are eligible for it, which that's between you and your tax accountant.
We're not tax people.
Harmon does not give tax advice.
What was that?
That's my little thing.
Disclaimer.
Harmon does not give tax advice.
We're live, so we don't. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I don't know how to do that.
Just look at the bottom of the screen. Oh, I can't do that now. But there's a 30% federal tax credit if you have a tax liability that can apply toward that liability. Again, talk to your tax guy and see if that would work for you. There's $1,000 up to $1,000 state tax credit in Arizona that could also work for you. Again, talk to your tax guy. And currently, that's really the only incentives I'm aware of.
Sometimes utilities give a little bit of incentives here and there, like for battery incentives, but it's so small. Like it's not really that significant. It's maybe a couple $100 here and there. I've even heard like some cities give some incentives too. I'm not going to say which cities, but I've heard like, we'll give you a city tax credit of $200. But again,
there are a lot of places outside of Arizona that offer pretty good incentives. There's states that do things what's called an SREC, where they will pay you up to 10 years a certain amount of money every year based on what you produce. So basically, let's say you produce, 20,000 kilowatt hours, they'll give you, 5 cents, 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And they'll give you that every year for 10 years. Those are really cool things.
Can you imagine if Arizona did that?
I wish they would. That's more typical in the upper Midwest and the Northeast. You'll see a lot of that. In some places in the Northeast, we'll do city and township incentives at all. There's areas in Massachusetts where going solar almost costs nothing because of all the incentives.
Yeah.
So Arizona's just not. We're not in that. We don't play in that ball field for whatever reason. They used to be when I first started 12 years ago. There was a tax credit or a credit from APS. I think it was. I want to say it was 50 cents at the time or something like that.
Nice.
I don't remember what it was.
There is one incentive with go with Harman that you could put a dollar amount to it. It's talking with me if you want to.
Yeah, that's definitely an incentive. So, if
I mean,
if
it's
you're lonely.
almost like a free solar system.
Yeah, that's right. Harmon dating. So, but there's not in Arizona. There's not a whole lot of incentives outside of the federal, which is great at 30%. There is a way to get it to 40%. That is something we're all trying to figure out. That has to do with using American-made everything. And there are companies that are building plants to kind of coerce with that. That make that work, not coerce, but coincide with that. So we'll have more information about that stuff at the end of the year because we're looking at stuff like that. But you can get up to a 40%, but the standard is 30%.
Nice, good answer. Good answer.
Next.
What are the policies and processes for upgrading the solar system technology as the new advancements become available?
Ooh, is that going to be me? That's all me. Perfect. Yeah, we do get this a lot. Some people call in like, hey, I don't think my system is producing enough. Like, I know it's working, but my usage has changed or my panels are old. I'm thinking about getting more. I always, tell them, well, what's the value? What are we getting? What are we putting on your roof? What are the pros and cons to it? Because again, I'm sure every company out there would be like, yeah, let's just maximize your roof and throw some panels out there. Let's do it. I want to take a look at, how much is your system producing? How much are you using? And then what's the cost of adding more or replacing your old ones? And then what's going to happen as far as utility? Because in certain utilities, they have, I don't think punishment is the right word, repercussions.
Punishment?
Well, like if you'll lose your grandfathering.
Oh, okay.
So if you change your system size over 1 kilowatt, then you lose your previous grandfathering. So there are cases where like, hey, you got your system a long time ago on this rate plan with this buyback, and if you want to add panels, you're going to be losing that rate plan, and you're going to be forced to be on a new rate plan, which is not as attractive.
Right.
So then you have to ask yourself, am I okay with doing that? And it's going to be very case-by-case scenario. If you're, for example, if your system is, only producing 10,000 kilowatt hours, but you're only using 11,000 kilowatt hours, and you're like, I just need that extra 1,000. Like, it's not really going to be worth it to add a few extra panels and lose your grandfathering.
Plus the cost of just adding those few extra panels, not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to get to that as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I cut your thunder.
I was going to get to that, Ralph. Wait, your turn. So whether you're adding 1 panel or 100 panels, there's still permitting fees, there's still design fees, there's still all these other fees associated to it. So I always tell people, if you are going to make those major changes, then your usage changes should be dramatic. I used to be a snowbird and now I'm not. Now I live in the home full time and we got an electric car and a hot tub, so our usage almost doubled. Then yes, for your situation, it would make sense to maybe get rid of your older panels and upgrade or add new panels. And I know you're going to be losing your grandfathering, but the savings is now going to be a little bit better. And I actually have a customer that they got their system installed 6 months ago. That was their situation. They originally got a system from us because they were snowbirds and it was fine for them in their situation then, but things changed down the road and then they wanted to add more. So they lost their grandfathering, which was fine because I looked at all the, the numbers for it. And I said, yeah, for you in your situation, it would make sense. But then I've had people that I've had to turn away because it just didn't make sense for them. So it depends. Okay, Ralph, you're allowed to talk now.
There's a common theme here, right? Everything we talk about, it depends because everything is it's customized to you and your situation, not just your home, but the way you live, the way you use power. Right. Everybody's different. We've said this a million times on the podcast. Everybody's different. The way you live, the way you use power. So every situation is going to be different. So it's going to always depend.
We should see if we get sponsorship from them.
From Depends?
Yeah.
That'd be for all the wrong reasons.
Sponsored by Depends.
It depends. Sponsored by. Okay, no. What you got, Hannah White? Oof.
Let's go with good
What's
questions.
oof?
Good questions.
Wow, so you're saying that all these people that asked questions weren't good?
Not good enough for me.
Wow.
Well, he is Mr. You're like Mr. Wonderful.
Probably
on
just my
Shark
mom
Tank.
chiming in with all the questions, actually.
Surprised your mom's not cursing you out on text, but anyway.
Dude, my mom would never curse, ever.
No? She doesn't
No,
curse?
she is the most Christian lady ever.
Oh.
Julie, do it now. Now's your
Catholic,
chance.
sorry, not Christian. Right.
Well,
Okay.
well,
I'm
not touching that.
I don't want her to be like, I'm Catholic. I don't know why I make my mom sound like an old timey prospector.
I know, right? Does she have like a picture?
Why I oughta?
Oh, boy.
Now she's a Three Stooge?
Okay. Do solar panels compromise the integrity of the roof?
I mean, they talk bad to it. I don't know if that compromises the integrity. I mean, again, you're putting weight
Yeah.
on your system. So, okay, so there's two ways to look at this. So, is it compromising integrity? If it's installed correctly,
Yeah.
I would say no. If it's installed incorrectly, I would say absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
So the way we install, so again, when we install a system, the stanchions, which is the things that come out of the roof that attach to rail, that then the panels sit on the rail, we go into the trusses of the home, right? So we're not compromising the roof, the plywood, because we're going right into the truss, and then we're double flashing it to make sure that it's not going to leak, right? Knock on wood, or fake wood, as this would be. So we don't typically compromise the integrity. Now, there are people out there that will just drill into the plywood and not seal it the best. And yeah, that's compromising the integrity of your roof. Or they'll put tile hooks. That's compromising the integrity of your roof because those tile hooks might just rip your entire panel, the stuff off. We've seen that happen. I guess if I'm understanding this correctly, my answer is if it's done correctly, no. It depends on the installer. It really does.
Yeah, I guess you can look at the question another way too. Let's say you have a typical home. One side of the roof has panels, the other side of the roof doesn't have panels.
So the home's going to lean?
Yeah. the roof itself is getting, beat up by the sun
regardless
all day.
Yeah.
One side of the roof that does not have panels is getting the full exposure to the sun. The other side of the roof that does have panels, the roof itself is not getting the full exposure to the sun because there's modules on top of that. So that part of the roof isn't getting beat up by the sun because the panels are absorbing all that light and heat. But again, heat doesn't have anything to do with solar panels. Okay. But the roof itself is underneath the module, so it's not getting beat up. So
that's another way to look at it.
I mean, you could do it that way too.
You're creating like a little vacation shade for your
little shade canopy for your roof. So
now again, these are concrete tiles typically, and what we're really talking
so
about.
after 20 years, you take off the modules and you look at both.
Yeah, that probably would be in better
roof
shape.
There's probably going to be a difference.
So get as many panels as you can all over your house.
If you want to protect your roof, just make a giant shade canopy of solar modules.
Just buy it.
I actually
You can
had
get it on
someone
Depot.
who wanted to do that.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, they had a house and they wanted to build a house on top of the house.
Know who's installing your stuff because again, there's people out there that they don't do a very good job.
Yeah,
and they don't care.
Yeah.
So you got to know who you're working with. Sometimes the price is cheap for a reason.
Yeah, right.
And then they go bankrupt.
And moving
Next
on.
question.
We don't talk bad
How
about our former competitors
Do I sell solar energy credits back to the grid?
like this.
You go to auction, 25, sold to SRP for. So each utility has their own export rate. It's a pretty easy answer. Export rate, and that export rate is governed by the utility and however they want to do it. So when your system is producing power, that power has to go somewhere. It's going to go to your house first, and then anything extra goes to the grid. Well, what happens when it goes to the grid? The utility company buys it back at that rate.
If
That's it.
that utility company has net metering. There are utilities out there.
that's
I
true.
can think of one right off the bat. San Carlos Utility does not have net metering.
Right.
So if a sales guy comes out to you and you're in that utility and they want to give you this big system, just know that everything that you produce that you're not using, they just take for free.
That's a good comment, because a lot of
course
people,
it is. I made it.
I know, yeah, here we go. So a lot of people will think like, oh, I'm using 20,000 kilowatt hours. This system's producing 20,000 kilowatt hours, 100% offset. I'm good. Well, if the utility doesn't buy back that extra power, and as Ralph's favorite thing is likes to say, the sun doesn't just sit over your house all day, 24/7.
That's mine.
Producing, except at Ralph's house, of course. The sun doesn't just sit overhead your house producing power of that 20,000 kilowatt hours. So you have to look at it on a daily basis. Right. How is power being used in my home? How is the solar system producing power? Where is that power going? So yes, you're going to be producing 20,000 kilowatt hours, but not all of that is going to be going into the home. Some of it's going to be going to the grid. What happens when it goes to the grid? If they're not paying you for it, or they're paying a very, very low rate, do you really want to send that to the grid?
You're just giving it to your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're paying full price for it.
Like, hey, guess what? I bought all this solar power, and I'm going to give it to you for free.
And they're going to pay regular price. They're going to pay the high price for it.
They'll pay the high price, but
you're helping the utility out.
Yeah, good job.
But just remember, if you live in one of those utilities where they don't have net metering, probably a good idea to make sure you get a battery too. Because at least then you can take some of that extended power, that extra power, and put it into your battery, and then you can use it later on when you need some power. So there's ways to take advantage of it. Like if I lived in an area like that, I would do a smaller system and I would have a battery. Yeah. Because I wouldn't want to give power back, but I'd want enough to keep my battery full.
Yeah. Which is why we don't really export a whole lot depending on the utility company. If you're buying power, if you bought solar power for 8 cents and you're going to sell it back to the grid for 2 cents.
That's
why would you do that?
Why do you want to overproduce?
Exactly. So don't overproduce it.
It's not bigger is not always better. I know you've heard this a million times, Ben. A million times, but bigger is not always better.
I'll stop going to the weight room then.
Well, you need to hit back there. Anyway, and that's just a fact. So don't let a salesperson tell you bigger, because that's bigger works for them and their commission.
Sure.
It doesn't work for you technically. You got to make sure you understand what that really means.
Right. But there are some utility companies where, if I'm buying power for 8 cents and I'm selling it back for 10 cents, you're like, oh,
SRP.
Now
different.
Now I want to export a lot because I'm buying it at a low rate and I'm selling it for a high rate. I'm buying low, selling high. Let's do that then. Let's export a lot.
If you live in SRP, you know what the buyback is? 2.81 cents.
Exactly. Good luck buying solar.
2.81 cents is what they give you for your power that you overproduce. So when you come to me and say, I want a 25K system on my roof, and you're going to be overproducing like crazy, why would you want to spend 9 cents to get 2.81 cents back? You're losing money.
You are buying high and selling low.
Right. That's not good.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that in many podcasts. But yeah, so just understand your situation. Next,
how does shade from trees or nearby buildings affect the efficiency of solar panels throughout the day and across the seasons?
It doesn't. They work at night. Done. Next.
Solar panels. Solar. So.
Okay, but the trees and nearby buildings,
okay,
the shade and the sun.
I know. No, as a former teacher, no question's a bad question. Yes, there are.
No, it's not.
No, it's fine. It's a common question we get because sometimes people they take a look at their monitoring and be like, hey, it's the middle of the day and I noticed half my panels aren't working. So we go on their monitoring site and like, oh yeah, you're right. We look at, this half of the system's working, this one isn't. Automatically a lot of people think something's wrong. But then we kind of have to go like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's look on Google Maps. Oh, your neighbor has a giant shade tree. So as the sun moves throughout,
neighbors.
I know. Get him a pet beaver.
Get him a pet beaver.
As the sun
awesome.
well, not necessarily the sun. As the Earth rotates and the shadows move across your system, yeah, it's going to produce less. It's just as a cloudy day, it's going to produce less on your system, but it's going to be a temporary thing. Hopefully, it's a temporary thing. Being in this industry, you drive around town and you do take a look at other homes. I can always, take a look at other homes and go, yeah, I guarantee we didn't install that one or this one or that one because there's some times where, like, the panels are just installed under a forest. And I'm like, these panels work off of sunlight. And if the tree is blocking that sunlight, your panels are not producing. So you shouldn't have a whole lot of shade issues when you're looking at going solar. It should be a shade-free environment.
We're lucky in Arizona because we don't have a lot of shade. There are neighborhoods and areas like Arcadia that have a lot of shade.
Yeah.
But for the most part, not a big issue here. Where it's a big issue is back east in the Midwest. You see tons of trees. This brings up a really good point. So in Arizona especially, people hear the word string inverter and they go, oh my gosh, I can't get a string inverter because I have to get a microinverter because I want it on every panel in case there's shade.
Yeah.
If you don't have a shading issue, which we've determined like 92% of the people don't have a shading issue, a microinverter is not necessary, and you're paying too much for something you don't need. You can easily put a Tesla liquid-cooled inverter in your garage and get way more efficiency and benefit out of that than you would out of a microinverter.
Yeah.
So again, understand how shade impacts it, what kind of shade you have, if any. If you don't have shade, you don't need to overkill and pay more money for things that are not going to help you.
Right. If you have partial shading on your roof, well, then maybe don't get a string inverter. So,
Or maybe we do the panels a different way to where they're not hitting the shade.
Yeah.
There's ways around it, right? And it's not going to be that bad. So salespeople always want to sell the easiest thing. A microinverter is easy to sell because it's a microinverter. It's one per panel. It's this and that. And you can have panel level monitoring because everyone's going to sit there and monitor all their panels. Of course you are.
I do.
So, yeah, well, you're a freak.
On the system that you don't have.
Yeah.
No, I never said mine. I said I do.
She made a great point.
I didn't say who invited her. I do monitor
the show.
other people's systems.
I think we're going to have her on our podcast from now on.
Like Ralph.
We should just have her on so she can keep you honest.
No, if she's on, then I'm off.
Wow.
Why can
Your
you
new-
miss everything?
Your new
Wow.
co-host.
That's fine.
Anyway, so there you go.
You know?
I'll be in charge of marketing.
Next.
Oh, okay, well, we can't have that. How will adding solar panels affect my property value and homeowners insurance premiums?
$1 million increase. Millions and millions of dollars.
Well, it depends. So property value is going to be, in my opinion, I know there's probably data out there that proves like, oh, it's increased your value by X amount. But I always look at it as what's the marketable value of the solar system, because there's benefits of having solar just because of the grandfathering alone. Like, hey, you got solar back when net metering was a thing with APS, and now you're on this really low rate, and the buyback is incredibly high. You're grandfathered into that. So when I'm showing you, people utility bills, I'm like, hey, this is what they were paying beforehand with solar. There's that aspect, and then just having it already installed, already done, everything already taken care of, and hopefully maybe it's already paid off, things like that. You have that automatic built-in value of the home.
Yep.
So how do you put a dollar value on just the peace of mind of that aspect? I don't know. But as far as the actual dollar amount, I'm sure Ralph knows.
There's data out there.
Yeah, but I don't know how
I can't give you the exact numbers. There is data out there that shows and proves that homes with solar sell faster in the state of Arizona, and they sell for more. So that data is completely out there. You can find it on the internet. Go look, go research it. There is a dollar value to it. There used to not be 10, 12 years ago because the people that evaluate your homes, that come out and look at homes, did not understand solar, and they didn't put a value to it. They do now. As they've understand it, and the industry has gotten smarter about solar, they've actually been able to put a dollar value to it now. So there is a number out there. I think it's different in every area, in every state. You just need to go and look it up in your area.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be something
huge, but it's
something to be like, I put a $50,000 system on my home, so therefore now I can increase the value of my home by $50,000.
No, that's not true.
not how it works.
Right.
So,
and it's think about it. If I was selling my home, the first thing I would do, as they could do the open houses and stuff, I would put my my electrical bills on the counter and say, "Here's my bills," and you can see.
However,
However, I know
buying
it's
your
tailored to me. I get
Yeah,
that,
no.
but I can show them.
I went into a couple of homes like that,
Yeah,
and I was
and-
like, that's their bill.
But it's still
gonna be
impressive
my
to
bill.
see that, hey,
Right.
this is how it works. You can see where I'm getting credits. You can see how I'm saving money.
Yeah, when I was
Blah,
looking
blah,
at homes, I liked looking at those bills because I just want to see what rate plan they were on. I was like, that's cool that's what they were paying, but they're on that rate plan. Now you got my attention.
So we have 4 minutes left.
Oh wow, time flies.
How many more questions you have?
One.
Last question.
Last
This is
question.
great
We
timing.
planned it. We planned it
All
like
right.
that.
Last question.
Last
Yes, Ben is available.
What?
Well,
Answer the question.
I rent you
Ben
out.
is available to answer the question.
Right.
There you go.
You're rentable.
Let's be specific about that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking. I thought
Answer
you're
the
rentable.
question.
I'm rentable.
The question is, if all of the solar companies in the valley are using the same equipment, or at least like the same level of equipment, why is Harmon Solar one of the better companies?
Ask the customers of the 3 companies that just went out of business why we're better.
Yeah, everyone says
But they're asking us.
Yeah,
So Ben,
everyone says we have the best equipment. No company's out there gonna be like, we have mediocre equipment. Like,
It's
yeah,
all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff. We can get all the same things. We all get them from the same supplier.
This is what you're looking for. You're looking for this. Number one, you want the company to be around so they can honor the warranties they're giving you outside of the manufacturer warranties.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about that in this podcast in the beginning. Number two, it's how do they install the equipment, right? A lot of companies cut corners and do things the easiest, most cheapest way because that's how they make the most money.
Mm-hmm.
We have to knock that. We cost a little more because we don't do it the easiest, cheapest way. We do it the right way. So that's where we differentiate ourselves from the competition. We want to do it the right way the first time because we don't want to have to go back and deal with it because you're our customer for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to make sure it's done right, and we're here to service you during that period of time because things will break, and we know that, and we'll be here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike some other companies that are no longer around, and we're going to install it right the first time because we don't want to have to deal with all the issues that come with poor workmanship.
Yeah.
Our workmanship warranty is 25 years. Again, we've been around since 1975 or so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going anywhere. So we've been here longer than our warranties. Other companies come and go, stay 5 years and leave, give you a 1,000,000-year warranty, infinity warranty we call it. It's a big infinity warranty,
Yeah.
but they're not in business anymore.
Yeah, I also tell people to look at just the financials of the company itself. Harman Solar, we don't just do residential solar. We have commercial solar, commercial electric, EV. We have service. We have a lot of different revenue streams. So,
Yes.
if something were to happen with the residential solar market, and the company,
Which it has.
Sure. Which, if you're looking at your company that you want to go with, and they only do residential solar, you got to ask yourself, well, what if something happens and that aspect now gets taken out? Is that company going to be around? Probably not. But at Harman, we're so diversified with a lot of different things that we do that if one part of the industry kind of, gets into a funk, we're still okay because we have all those other revenue streams.
Yep.
That's why we've been around since the 70s, because we've seen the ups and downs of the economy.
As tough as the last few years have been, we're pretty good.
We're still here.
Yeah, we're not having any issues. We are thriving. Our business is thriving right now in so many areas, and we will continue to thrive. So there you go. That's a differentiator. We're not just a residential solar business as well.
Yeah.
That's it. That was our last question.
That's it.
All right.
We are 30 seconds over.
We are 30 seconds over. It's 3:30. We said we would end this at 3:30. We also said we started at 2 and we didn't.
That's so,
Started at 2:07,
Yeah.
and I blame Ben 100%.
That's because I wasn't fed.
That's
There was no food here. I come here for food, and then there's nothing.
all right. Well, we hope we answered your questions.
Thank you.
And we did answer a lot of questions.
I hope we answered your question. We did answer
We
them.
answered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So, but it was good stuff.
stuff.
We'll have a replay available, and we had some people come in and go out as we were doing this. So it's again, people will watch this on replay.
Thanks, Mom.
That's where it's all gonna be. Thanks, Mom. Your son's all right. He's okay.
All right.
He's Anyway,
Cut the feed.
thanks for joining us, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you again next time. We're going to start doing some more podcasts, put more content out there. It's been a while, but we're going to get back into it. So appreciate the support and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Bye.
Thanks.